Are you a Christian? Do you believe that God has an effect on this world? According to the Bible, many signs and miracles have happened. Prayers were answered. God spoke with people. If you believe in these stories, this video is for you. Now, if God has an effect on this world, it means the existence of this God can be verified scientifically. This is further supported by the Bible, where God has repeatedly been asked to prove himself to skeptics, and he complied. Some will say that God can't be tempted. The word for tempted comes from translating the Hebrew nasa, which can mean three things: 9, to test for existence; to prove; 2, to tempt into sin; 3, to test one's patience. Some Christians say that the meaning of nasa is the first, but it could be any of the three. Several biblical passages show that God's existence is tested and then proven by God.
I will stand there before you by the rock at Horeb, strike the rock, and water will come out of it for the people to drink. So Moses did this in the sight of the elders of Israel, and he called the place Massah and Meribah because the Israelites quarreled and because they tested Nossa, the Lord, saying, "Is the Lord among us or not?"
In this story, the miracle of striking the rock and water coming out was done to test God's existence. Later, God seems to change his mind. Maybe he thought he made a mistake.
Do not test the Lord your God as you did at Massah.
But this is not the only place in the Bible where God's existence is requested then proven.
Gideon said to God, "If you will save Israel by my hand as you have promised Luke, I will place a wool fleece on the threshing floor. If there is dew only on the fleece and all the ground is dry, then I will know that you will save Israel by my hand, as you said." And that is what happened. Gideon rose early the next day. He squeezed the fleece and wrung out the dew a bowlful of water. Then Gideon said to God, "Do not be angry with me. Let me make just one more request. Allow me one more test, Nossa, with the fleece. But this time make the fleece dry and let the ground be covered with dew." That night God did so. Only the fleece was dry, all the ground was covered with dew.
This test was to answer a question: is God going to give victory to Gideon? But at the same time, it's a miracle that shows God is real. Not convinced? Here's an even better, direct test of God's existence.
He arranged the wood, cut the bull into pieces and laid it on the wood. Then he said to them, "Fill 4 large jars with water and pour it on the offering and on the wood." "Do it again," he said, and they did it again. "Do it a 3rd time," he ordered, and they did it the 3rd time. The water ran down around the altar and even filled the trench. At the time of sacrifice, the prophet Elijah stepped forward and prayed, "Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac and Israel, let it be known today that you are God in Israel and that I am your servant and have done all these things at your command. Answer me, Lord, answer me, so these people will know that you, Lord, are God, and that you are turning their hearts back again." Then the fire of the Lord fell and burned up the sacrifice, the wood, the stones and the soil, and also licked up the water in the trench. When all the people saw this, they fell prostrate and cried, "The Lord, he is God, the Lord, he is God."
Here Elijah asks God to prove himself by burning a completely wet offering. God complies. A 3rd test is the moving of the sun.
Hezekiah had asked Isaiah, "What will be the sign that the Lord will heal me and that I will go up to the temple of the Lord on the 3rd day from now?" Isaiah answered, "This is the Lord's sign to you that the Lord will do what he has promised. Shall the shadow go forward 10 steps, or shall it go back 10 steps? It is a simple matter for the shadow to go forward 10 steps, said Hezekiah. "Rather, have it go back 10 steps. Then the prophet Isaiah called on the Lord, and the Lord made the shadow go back the 10 steps it had gone down on the stairway of Ahaz.
Here Hezekiah doesn't believe what Isaiah said, that God will heal him. So as a proof, God moves the sun in the sky. Then there's the test of the prophet. If you want to know if a prophet is the real deal or not, you can put him to the test. If what he says will happen happens, then God is with him. This is a test by proxy and is specifically allowed.
When a prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, if the thing does not happen or come to pass, that is the thing which the Lord has not spoken. The prophet has spoken it presumptuously. You shall not be afraid of him. As for the prophet who prophesies of peace, when the word of the prophet comes to pass, the prophet will be known as one whom the Lord has truly sent.
The ultimate test for God in the Old Testament is described in Exodus. The Pharaoh doesn't believe in Moses' God. God gives him signs in the form of the plagues. This is considered to be one of the greatest miracles and served to prove God to the chosen people again and again and again. In the New Testament there are many more tests for Jesus. One of the most explicit is as follows.
Once more he visited Cana in Galilee, where he had turned the water into wine. And there was a certain royal official whose son lay sick at Capernaum. When this man heard that Jesus had arrived in Galilee from Judea, he went to him and begged him to come and heal his son, who was close to death. Unless you people see signs and wonders. Jesus told him, you will never believe. The royal official said, Sir, come down before my child dies. Go, Jesus replied, your son will live. The man took Jesus at his word and departed. While he was still on the way, his servants met him with the news that his boy was living. When he inquired as to the time when his son got better, they said to him, yesterday, at 1 in the afternoon, the fever left him. Then the father realized that this was the exact time at which Jesus had said to him, your son will live. So he and his whole household believed. This was the second sign Jesus performed after coming from Judea to Galilee.
In this part, Jesus himself admits that without any sign people cannot believe, so he gives signs. This is a solid piece of evidence that God can be tested. Jesus gave many more signs. One of the most famous miracles done by Jesus was done specifically to show a point that faith, even in a very small quantity, can make anyone do incredible things. For example, Jesus was able to walk on water. Peter also repeated the feat. Although he lost faith and fell in the water afterward, Jesus explained that you only need a small amount, the equivalent of a grain of mustard, to do great miracles like move a mountain. Jesus also promised that you can ask God for anything, and it will be granted to you.
Believe me when I say that I am in the Father and the Father is in me, or at least believe on the evidence of the works themselves. Very truly I tell you, whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these, because I am going to the Father, and I will do whatever you ask in my name, so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. You may ask me for anything in my name, and I will do it.
This includes, for sure, proving to unbelievers that God exists by a miracle. In the New Testament, God can also be proven by proxy. As with the prophets, the disciples also performed signs and wonders. There are many more signs in the form of miracles that are openly used to show God is real, which I haven't listed. It would be too long to do so. In conclusion, it is possible for God to be tested, and he has been many times in the Bible.